Hello, welcome to another Flintstory pot. Okay, ఒకటే కెమెరా అని చూడాలి, సారీ.
అదే ఎందుకు అంత ఆగమవుతుంది?
అటు ఇటు చూసిన.
ఎట్టన్నా చూసుకో.
Hello, welcome to another Flintstory podcast. Today we have with us that Hyderabadi boy, aka Yunus Lasania, who is well known for his heritage walks. He is the founder of the Hyderabad History Project. Welcome to Flintstory.
Thank you for coming.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is mine. So, me and all three of us wanted to come join with you for your heritage walks.
If you wake up early.
Yeah, exactly. వీకెండ్స్ ఉండేసరికి కొద్దిగా కష్టమైంది అది.
By the way, we paid thrice. We couldn't make it.
Avuna. Okay. No, there's actually a refund. So the thing is, so if you pay, then you can come for any walk in the future at any point of time. You don't have to pay again.
Oh, we paid thrice.
Really?
We paid thrice.
Oh,
yes,
I didn't. So you have to tell me. I don't keep track of who pays and all that. So I can't post. So you can come if you have
Definitely.
if you have family or friends who can come, and if you can send them.
Right.
We'll only come.
Then come then.
Pakka.
Come now. You have paid for 3 times, so then you can count how many times you paid for and come.
Sure.
So, Yunus, we've seen your work, in terms of the kind of articles that you keep posting on Instagram. So, we'll start with what you know about, the establishment of Hyderabad or Secunderabad or some crazy facts that a lot of people don't know.
I mean, I won't say there's crazy facts or anything like that, but so come for a walk, okay, but you will get the whole thing, but I'll sum it up.
According to you, what is the most interesting walk that you've,
No, I would say everything is interesting depending on what you like. So for different people, different things will be interesting. So for example, if you are more interested in political history, then maybe you might like the last part of Hyderabad history with the around independence. But let's say if you like medieval history, then maybe you'll prefer to read more about Golconda. So, for example, the founders of Hyderabad were called the Qutub Shahis or the Golkonda Kings. So those guys, the founding king was from Iran. But it's not so simple. They are what you call Azeri Turkish people who basically lived on the borders of Azerbaijan and Iran. They controlled parts of Azerbaijan and Iran.
Okay.
so the founders of Hyderabad?
The founding king, his clan was this Azeri Turkish tribe that lived on the borders of Iran. They lived in Hamadan in Iran, but they controlled parts of Azerbaijan and Iran. That's who they were.
Now, how did they come all the way?
So he was basically a refugee.
Oh,
okay. So just if you want things in context, in Assam, I believe the Ahoms, the origin goes back to China. They actually came from China. In fact, I was watching a video on Assam. I think it was Odd Compass theory, which actually detailed how the Ahom, the tribe, actually the first king who settled in Assam actually came from China all the way in 12th, 13th centuries. So it's not very, actually people take this for granted. Migration is a very, very normal thing. So even, for that matter, today what you call original Indians is all very subjective, right? So how, it's the same thing with Israel Palestine also. How are you going to say who the land belongs to from where? See, once somebody comes and stays here, once they make it their home, see, if somebody is invading, destroying, taking and going back, then you can always argue saying they're outsiders. Somebody's coming and staying, for that, then if you're going to use that logic, then you should start driving out all the people from other states to settle in Hyderabad, right?
Right, true.
True. Right, so my point is, globally also, this concept of migration is very old. Same thing applies everywhere. So same thing for Golconda also. So Sultan Quli was the founding king. He was sent to survive because all the people in his tribe all the men in his tribe were killed one by one. So they sent him to India to survive. So he very specifically came to this city called Bidar in Karnataka, which in the 1400s was a very big hub for Iranian migration. Now the thing is, if you talk to, so this is something that I keep telling people. If you talk to Iranians, they'll say, "Oh, we built your cities." I'll keep telling them, "Jare bhai, this is not a big deal, because actually more than us needing Iranians needed jobs. Iran was also not very stable in the medieval period. They also had their issues, right? Iran is a very old civilization. There's no doubt about that. they're also great people. So are Indians. So it's not as if they did us any favor.
Right.
Right. They needed jobs. They came here to work. They got jobs, and they built something. Same thing applies to other. Like if you. So why I told you about invasion, like how Sultan Quli came. He comes to Bidar, settles down in Bidar. He starts working for this empire called the Bahmani Empire. Then around 1490s or early 1500s, he's made the governor of Telangana. And he is given the Golkonda fort. That's how he becomes the governor of Telangana and starts building the fort.
Governor on behalf of
Or the
Mughal
Bahman.
Empire.
No, there was no Mughal at that. Mughals come much later. Mughals come after Golkonda.
This is in 13th
This,
century.
this is so Sultan Quli comes around the 1480s.
Okay.
By the early 1500s, he becomes the governor of Golkonda. There is still no Mughal empire. So Mughals are just one dynasty of Delhi. There are several more dynasties that existed before them, right? They were the last ones. That is why. So Mughals were basically the Mughals are very overrated in a sense. I mean, that is what it is. So because see, they were not in existence when Golkonda came into existence.
Right.
Right. That is number one. So Sultan Quli comes, settles down here. That is how. So before that, the fort was there, but it was not there in the current form. Like it was not a built fort. It was a small mud fort, or maybe it was a smaller something that we don't know exactly what was there. The capital before Hyderabad was in Warangal, under the Kakatiyas.
Kakatiyas.
So if you've been to Rachakonda Fort. No. So if you go, it's basically very minimalistic.
Yeah.
Like they did not actually build a Golkonda Fort type situation.
True.
Because the capital is 140 kilometers far away in Warangal. So it makes no sense to have see, similar thing in Bangalore. Bangalore Fort. Originally, Bangalore was only in the fort. Bangalore Fort was meant to look like Hampi. But a smaller version of Hampi. Same thing also, what is this? The Rachakonda Fort also. They only use the natural formations to build small things, structures, nothing like major. So Golkonda, because it was the capital, was built in a very big way by the Qutub Shahis. But before that, it would have been a very small fort. We don't know exactly what was there. So it's only in the early 1500s under the Golcondas when the fort was built. So what we call old city is actually not old city. The oldest part of the city is Golconda Fort, right? So Hyderabad becomes old city because of Secunderabad. Because people living in Secunderabad start calling old city Purana Shahar. That's how it becomes old city.
Right.
So yeah, that's how the Golconda Kings come. The interesting.
So,
No,
were they rich from the start, or
They were rich because after the Golconda kingdom became independent, like when it became a real kingdom, they were mining diamonds from the Krishna belt, from Andhra, from near Guntur.
right?
That is what made them very rich. Basically, the Golconda. Even today, if you look at Christie's auctions, Golconda's diamonds go for millions of dollars.
Yes.
Even today. So the quality of diamond was very high. That's why the Mughals attacked South India, because basically North India was poor back then. It is poor even today. Okay, they basically constantly attacked South India because they needed money. And then you had Mr. Shah Jahan, who wasted all the money and built Taj Mahal. So it became even worse. Mughal Empire was not bad, but see, okay, the context here is that 1518 is when Golconda was created, like officially as a kingdom. 1526 is Mughals. So the founding king Babur comes from Uzbekistan and defeats the Lodhis in Delhi. That's how they come into power.
Right.
So Mughals technically come 8 years after Golconda.
No.
So they were contemporaries. They were not our kings from beginning. People, this whole thing that Mughals is really not there, because the Mughals actually only they have control over South India only from the 1600s onwards. They fully take over what we call India today only after 1687. So there is a gap of 150 plus years. Until that time, the Mughals were actually highly unstable for a very long time. And the Mughals were really not great. They were okay. They were just... Unfortunately, our school textbooks are written by people from Delhi. So everything for them centers around Delhi. I can easily argue that Hampi, Vijayanagar was actually greater than the Mughal. Actually, it is true. You can
Yes,
actually argue.
actually, yes, yeah.
You can argue. So see, the thing is, under the Vijayanagar Empire also, Krishnadevaraya and the founding king of Golconda were contemporaries.
Right.
Okay. One of the prime ministers, so Krishnadevaraya understood that you can build a city, like, see, the people call him a great Hindu king and all that, but the thing is, he understood that you cannot have a great kingdom without a mixed economy. So they actually hired a lot of Arab soldiers. Those barracks are still there in Hampi today.
I've seen that.
So the fact that he had the foresight to see that you have to hire people with skills also shows that Hampi was also equally mixed culturally, right?
But దానికి ముందు, just for my knowledge, so Arabs ni Vijayanagara.
See, just keep in mind, Arabs have been coming to India from over 1,400 years. Okay, the earliest place they come is Kerala.
Okay.
The oldest mosque in India actually is in Kerala. When apparently, so this is the story of Chiraman Mosque is that when Prophet Muhammad was alive, someone from Kerala went to Arabia, converted and came back and built a mosque. Okay, so Arabs actually have been coming to the Karnataka and Kerala and Tamil Nadu coast from over 1,000 years. Okay, so they've already been around. The oldest, in fact, in Trichy in Tamil Nadu, there's a 1,000-year-old temple.
Okay.
That was the land was given to them by the Hindu king only, by Chola king, saying, "Okay, come and settle down," bolke, to a Sufi.
So South India had a lot of Muslim population.
I won't say a lot, but on the coastal areas in the world were basically meant for globalization. All the people coming would come by coast. There were no flights, no.
Right,
They would come by coast only. So coastal cities were actually where everything was mixed. So I remember reading about this. Apparently, around 150, 200, 300 years ago, it would have been highly unlikely that you would have found a Telugu-speaking person in Vizag, because most of the traders would come from Bengal and from Burma. So you would actually hear more Bengali and Burmese people speaking in Vizag than Telugu, it seems.
Interesting.
Nice.
So under the Golkonda Kingdom, for example, so what do you call Mosambi in Telugu?
Mosambi.
Mosambi.
Battai.
Battai.
Battai, yeah.
You know where the word comes from? Batavia, which is the other name for Jakarta in Indonesia. So because it comes to us from Indonesia, it is called Battai Pandu. Otherwise, if wherever it came from, Mozambique is called Mosambi.
Okay.
Right.
Like that.
Right.
బాగుంది.
యా రీసెంట్గా నేను ఆరెంజ్ ది సంత్రా దీన్ని కూడా ఇట్లానే బ్రేక్ డౌన్ చేశాను. ఎక్కడి నుంచి హౌ డిడ్ దట్?
For that matter, there is also this scam called Alfonso Mango. So it's not imported.
అవునా?
If people keep, so the thing, Alfonso Mango is basically called Alfonso Mango because of one Portuguese governor called Alfonso Albuquerque, who basically in the 1500s could not eat a mango with his hand because he was too white. He wanted to cut with his knife and fork. So he actually grafted that Indian mango into a harder fiber.
ఓకే.
That's all. Ante inkem ledu. So Portuguese also, for example, so Guntur chilies now, where do you think chilies came from? Chilies are also not native to India. That's also bought with the Portuguese.
Even ఇప్పుడు ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో కోకో కూడా.
So now it is, of course, now it is local, but I'm saying it was introduced. So a lot of things what we call Indian were also again,
Trade.
came via trade. Like okay, first of all, Portuguese are by the way the most horrible colonial people in Indian history. Okay, let's not forget that. Portuguese,
Why do you say
Why is that?
they were so when what's his name, Vasco da Gama. Yeah, Vasco da Gama only when he came around 1498, first landed in Kerala. This fellow, I would say, is worse than Christopher Columbus. He landed in Kerala thinking Hindus are Christians, thinking they're some kind of Christians, bolke. Until he got some shock in his brain, "Arey, ye to Christians, not Christians," bolke. And he was very angry at the fact that the Cochin and Malabar kingdoms were living happily with Muslims. They were angry at like, how the hell are you allowing Muslim Arabs to live there, bolke. They basically come, and I think a lot of people they start bombing, they start shooting, they start fighting. Like there are written records. Apparently, one fine day when they were coming to Kerala, when they were leaving from Kerala, they saw one ship of Muslims who come from Mecca after prayer, after Hajj. So they just bombed that whole ship in spite of people saying, "We'll give you all the money, just leave us." They just say, "We just burned them for nothing just because they're Muslims." And there is a lot of weird shit. Like for example, this is all recorded in books only. They did some weird stuff like forcing a Brahmin to eat cow meat, and they tied something on his face and they made him walk something, and then they cut the face of a pig or something on a Muslim and all that. So all sorts of weird things that they were horrible. Then Goa was actually also converted to Catholic Christianity in the 1500s, forcible conversion. And there's a lot of proof about this. For example, there's someone called keep forgetting his name. There was a Jewish man living in Goa. He was I can't remember the name. Basically, there is what you call Catholic Inquisition. It's basically the conversion of forcible conversion of people. They're called New Christians. So when the Portuguese, so this is the initial part is when Portuguese were very horrible. After a point, they mellowed down. So in that, I've been to Goa, Bomb Jesus Church.
Yeah.
That fellow was the worst human being that existed in Goa. I don't know why people love him so much. He was the one responsible for a lot of the like forcible conversions.
Okay.
So I have the photo in my phone. I don't know if I can remove it right now, but basically
You can.
I'll check. There's a man, the Jewish. See, what happens is the Muslims were ruling Spain for a couple of 100 years, and then the Catholics come and they drive them out. So they convert everybody. So Spanish people actually went from being Muslim to
You know which year this is?
1300s,
Okay.
14th centuries. Even Portugal was actually same thing happened. So Portugal also has Muslim history. So when the Catholics come, they either tell everyone either you convert or you leave. So everybody converts, and people who didn't want to, a lot of Jews who were living happily under Muslim kings eventually left because they didn't want to convert, and some of them came to India and Goa. Again, they were also living happily under the Bahmani. So the Bahmani Empire, under where the Golkonda Kings worked, right? Just like Golconda, there's one more kingdom called Bijapur in Karnataka. So they controlled Goa until 1510 something. So the Jews were living happily under them until the Catholics came again. Same Portuguese people again went after them. So I can't remember the name. With A something it is. So basically, this Jewish guy who is living in Goa, he was living in Bombay. He writes books about how white foreigners can survive and like what to do in India. This guy is, so anybody who the Portuguese found to be worshipping their old religion were killed, burned to death. So they find that from this guy's sister who is being killed for worshipping, still being Jew, that they saying, no, you have to, they burn her. So before she dies, she confesses that her brother was also secretly still
Following
his old religion. So they actually remove his body and burn it again.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So we don't know where his body is. There's a whole, like, I'll remember the name and tell you, but basically, so in Panjim, there's like a garden named after him. Bombay, there is this old house, something like that. So that is how the Portuguese were initially. So people, I don't know why people, British are more recent. Like, initially the East India Company comes only, I guess, Chunumunu traders. Only in the 1800s onwards is when they become really powerful. So Portuguese are the ones who actually were the real poison in the 1500s. And I think because they were a small thing, we don't really take into consideration how much probably because of the fact that they were confined to one area also. So that's why we didn't really bother. So Portuguese are also the people who bring pineapples to India, by the way. Cost of each pineapple in Hyderabad was about $8,000 per fruit, for one fruit in the 1600s because of the expense.
$8,000?
Yeah. So basically, by the time pineapple came from Brazil, so pineapple,
And
chili,
also, I think pineapple was more like an
So because of
royalty
the fruit coming from there and becoming expensive is when it becomes a fancy fruit which only royals could actually buy because nobody else had the money to spend so much money on fruit. Because the fruit was expensive, they actually stopped eating the fruit and they would just start putting it at a table lo pet them. Parties lo. Showpiece. And they would, even if it would get spoiled inside, nobody would care because status symbol. That's what it becomes. So pineapple also, that's why in Qutub Shah items you will find pineapples on designs everywhere. Atla. So that is the history. So food history is very important, interesting. Now if you say global, so if you're saying shocking అంటే అట్లా ఏం షాకింగ్ అంటే లేదు
ఇప్పుడు
సో
యాక్చువల్లీ చాలా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ వచ్చింది.
One of the monuments also is I was going through your Instagram page and it was like pineapple shaped or something. Which one is that?
Wait, pineapple shaped? So
shaped అంటే అదే అట్లా.
You will have pineapple designs on it on the Charminar also, by the way.
నేను అక్కడికి వద్దాం అనుకున్నా. So a lot of people know that, you know, Charminar is the most iconic place of Hyderabad, but a lot of people don't know what.
Yeah, so the thing is, Charminar is basically the first monument constructed in the entire city. That was the first. That's basically మీ ఇంటికి ఫౌండేషన్ పెడతారు కదా, ఫౌండేషన్ స్టోన్. అది that's what it is to Hyderabad. It is the city's most important monument because of the fact that it is the foundation. It is actually also a very big important design aspect మాత్రం కూడా. So pineapples ఉన్నాయి. There are some mythological creatures ఉన్నాయి.
ఎక్కడ?
పైన ఫస్ట్ ఫ్లోర్ లో అక్కడ ఆర్కేడ్ లో
ఏం క్రీచర్స్ అవి?
It's called it's a griffin. It's an ancient Iranian version of a griffin called Shirdal. It's a cross between lion and an eagle. Then there are some Hinduism inspired motifs also there. Flowers. You won't flowers are basically they've also, I think, taken some inspiration from Warangal for those four Charkaman. I think they've taken some inspiration from Warangal, from Kakatiyas. So it's a mix, a blend of Iranian and Indian designs.
So basically, Charminar is like the foundation stone
It was the foundation
of the
Hyderabad,
city.
yeah.
Okay.
It was not a religious place.
Okay.
It was a place where they would have public announcements and things like that.
It wasn't more like a plaza or a
It was
square.
basically like a central monument to the city. A city was built around it.
Right.
That is what it is. So people don't understand this thing building hai bana hai, but no, it actually has a lot of importance. So old city was very specifically chosen. Like when the city was new, after Golconda, when city was shifting there, they chose that area for access to water from the Musi River. That is why it was built there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Water is very important. So Hussain Sagar also was built as a water source to Golconda.
అండ్ నేను ఇది కూడా చదివాను దట్ అపారెంట్లీ హుస్సేన్ సాగర్ దగ్గర ఒక చిన్న థర్మల్ స్టేషన్ ఏదో
Thermal line, the Hussain Sagar has a direct line to Musi River.
రైట్
And the lake was connected to other lakes through aqueducts. Basically, for example, Durgam Cheru also was a water source to Golconda Fort. That is what Durg means, fort. Durga ka talab was the original name.
No, but I'm saying హుస్సేన్ సాగర్ నుంచి ఆ థర్మల్ స్టేషన్ బేసిక్లీ ఆ పవర్ స్టేషన్ వల్ల హైదరాబాద్ వాజ్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫస్ట్ సిటీస్ టు హ్యావ్ ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ.
Yeah, so city got electricity around 1913. Not exactly earliest, but still early.
Right.
Actually, Hyderabad, I would say, got modernized a little late. Madras, Bombay, Calcutta, because they were already cities built by the British. They were industrialized a little bit early. Calcutta was the capital for a very long time. Delhi became the capital much later.
Right. But then we have Secunderabad అప్పటికే because
Secunderabad was there. So
Right.
Secunderabad was founded in the year 1806.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think 1800s లోనే we handed it over to the British.
No, okay. Here's the thing. Secunderabad was founded in 1806. After so Golconda gets destroyed in the year 1687. The Mughals take over. Then the Mughals appoint the Nizams as governors of Hyderabad. So Nizams are nothing. They are not new people. They were basically Mughal soldiers. So the Nizams come under the second Nizam in the year 1798 is when the Nizams and the British sign a treaty. So as part of that treaty, they keep 6 British battalions in Hyderabad for some 24 lakh rupees a year. Some like thousands of crores probably. So in 1806, they tell the British to move out the troops to a different area. That area is called Secunderabad. So they didn't actually give control. The Nizams just let the British stay there. This is the notion that is wrong, that the Secunderabad was in British, the administration was theirs, but they didn't own it. In fact, in 1945, the Secunderabad cantonment was actually handed back to Hyderabad state. There was a demand by people to be merged in Hyderabad.
Oh, wasn't it a part of the Hyderabad state then?
It was, but the control and the
Was,
administration
yeah.
also, they preferred Hyderabad itself.
Right.
So there's like a small plaque in the Nizams museum which actually was given, which marked the occasion. That's how we know that 45 it was when given back. So Secunderabad is not owned by the British.
No, but నేను అంటుంది
they
developed
had
it.
they fully built it. The Nizams did not directly have any control on the administration, but I'm saying the land was still the state's
Right,
land only.
right.
It was not like the British owned it.
No, అంటే నేను ఎలా అంటుండే you were saying that Bombay, Madras, all these
So
were developed by the British,
yeah.
right?
So Secunderabad was developed a little bit on those lines only. So,
Right.
for example, the first train station was actually in Secunderabad, 1874 or 1878. So the British didn't build it for us, by the way. They built it because they wanted access to their areas.
Right.
That's why they got it to Secunderabad, not to Hyderabad.
Right.
I think Kachiguda and Nampally come in the early around 1910 के आसपास 1020s में Kachiguda and then Nampally comes. So Kachiguda is called Hyderabad Deccan station.
Oh,
Right.
interesting.
So how did మళ్ళీ ఇదేంటి ద లైక్ దో దే వాజ్ అంటే నిజామ్స్ రూల్ చేస్తున్నా కూడా నాకు తెలియదు ప్రాపర్గా కానీ తెలంగాణ జమీందార్స్ హ్యాడ్ అ లాట్ ఆఫ్
Zamindars are very understand that in Telangana and Andhra, landlords or landowners, zamindars are always there from Golkonda period itself.
Right.
Okay. This has something to do with caste also. It's not like when Nizams came, new people came. Telugu landlords have been there from hundreds of years. Even the Golkonda Kings did not disturb it. Because in India, if there's one thing that Muslim rulers understood is that not to disturb the caste economy because they know that it will not work. So when the Nizams come, they also let them be. They didn't disturb the caste system. That's why I keep reminding people that. So the hierarchy is like this: you have Nizams, then the family that came immediately afterwards, the Paigas. They were basically the family. You know, do you all watch Game of Thrones?
No.
No. So Lannisters. So basically, the Paigas are the only family that the Nizams would marry into. Then Tarvata you had the Salarjung. So then after that you have fourth level lo the Hindu Samasthanam Rajas, who also, so it's 10%. So 10% directly owned by Nizams. Next 30% is private landlords. Private landlords ante Paigas, Samasthanam Rajas, Samasthanam Rajas had their, basically they were sub-rulers. The Nizams would not interfere. They would just come yearly once, give them money and they would go. Ante.
But I think
then
the
coming to
Samastana Rajas would pay tax to
yeah,
Nizam, I guess.
Everybody had to pay tax to the Nizam, but they had more independence.
Right.
So the next last level of hierarchy are the revenue collectors called Jagirdars. Zamindars are landowners, Jagirdars are revenue collectors. So they said 60% of the state was basically under the Jagirdari system, especially Telangana. That is, so what you're talking about is basically the revenue collectors. So what happens is in the 1800s, Salarjung the first, he kind of restructures the system because apparently nobody was paying tax properly. So he puts up a system, he puts new positions. Like what is the correct concept of collector is really useless. It's the worst, the stupidest position to exist in India. Like what is he collecting? Nothing, right? It's a British era thing, like tax collecting thing. Like it's an administrative, you can say city district administrator, you can say like why do we need a GHMC mayor? Then you have a district collector. Like makes no sense, right? What is the whole like? If you think about it, like for example, if you look in the US, mayor is the actual power. Like the mayors actually have power. Like they actually have direct power. Like you have a chief minister and governor. So it's like assembly will pass the bills unless governor signs it. So governor also cannot. Actually, they can't deny anything. But konjam locha undi, you have to pass and all that. Similarly, collector is the actual power.
Basically, executive and constitutional.
So basically, we have that collector, right? So what is the job of collector? Nothing. It was earlier the collector's title here was talukdar. They were the ones who were collecting taxes. So you had the district administration under the talukdars, and then you had the actual Jagirdars who used to have a separate system under them. To like, for example, let's say you had 10,000 acres of land. So you have something called a police patel, mali patel, and patwari. Police for the administration, mali, I'm not sure what it is actually. Patwari is for accountant. So you have, so these guys would work under the Jagirdar, and then the state would collect taxes from the Jagirdars. They would come and check who's paying, who's not paying. So basically, after a point in the 1800s, so Telangana used to be a very dry state, still dry state only. So ante Varshakalam sarigga ledante, then they would, earlier it was like if depending on the rainfall, they would collect taxes. Ante meeku 1000 acres ki Varshakalam sarigga padle ante, they will say, okay, less rainfall, you pay less tax. But after a point, they basically said nothing doing. You for your 1000 acres, you have to pay this much fixed every year. So that is what put farmers under constant debt. When there is no rainfall, then it will be carried forward to next year. Right. Extra pay chali up next year. That's what became so the combination with caste made it very horrible. So basically, you had all these backward class people who were like dhobi. Chakal cheptaru kada. So they had to be dhobis for generation after generation after generation. Then Dalits were slaves, slave families and the slave, like full, like basically they would have one person from one family working for them as slave, generational slavery. क्या बोलते हैं उसको वेटी चाकरी, bonded labor. So that's what happened. So Nizams basically had no idea what was happening in district. వాళ్ళకి పైసలు ఇస్తే సార్లకి ఖతం అయిపోయింది పని. They were developing Hyderabad development happening on the side separately. Districts were on. So they tried to do, I think in the admin, they tried to like introduce more education. Like it was minimal, I would say. Whatever development happened only in Hyderabad. If you were living in Hyderabad, you had a better chance of living. But if you are not from a ruling class family in district and you had basically a horrible life. That's why a lot of Dalits and a lot of backward class people left districts and they came to the Secunderabad railways because the British were giving jobs to anybody willing to do any job. Like the linemen and all that, right? Many of them were Dalits only.
How powerful were the Nizams in terms of warfare?
No, they were not powerful. They were relying on the British for an army. So 1947, when the British left, they took the army and left. Finished. Army
because even in this movie, Bajirao Mastani-lo, they show that Bajirao comes to
So the
war.
Nizams actually lost a lot. So one of the reasons the second Nizam shifted the capital from Aurangabad to Hyderabad back was because of the fact that of constant attacks from Marathas.
Right.
Marathas actually in the 1800s become de facto rulers of the country when they actually defeat almost everybody. They even defeat Delhi. They actually force Delhi to pay them money to not attack them.
Right.
So it is true. The Nizams also got attacked by the Marathas. So that's like it's like so the flow is Mughals take over everything, then Mughals are innovate, then the Marathas take over, and then the British take over.
Okay.
So I saw. So that's a
So the only power that the Nizams had was money.
No, they were so they
Like
were, I
to
would say
use
they were
British
more
troops.
diplomatic. So,
Right.
for example, you people don't understand the Nizams actually had an agreement. So 1 year after the Nizam signed the agreement with the British, they helped the British kill Tipu Sultan. 33% of armies that fought with Tipu in Karnataka were from Hyderabad.
Okay.
And then
కానీ నేను అంటే when I went to Golconda, అక్కడ the tour guide was saying that back in the day Nizam actually hired soldiers from Africa.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So with this AC guards is African cavalry guards only in Hyderabad. There are Yemeni troops who were brought. AC guards are different. Yemeni. So they brought a lot of troops from Yemen to work. So Barkas, that area after Charminar, is where all the descendants of the Yemenis live today. To this day, they didn't bring so many people here. Like brought like getting
Few
troops from
hundreds,
outside. No, maybe more than that. They had thousands probably. I don't think they ever did any great thing. The Nizams never had a big army to begin with. They always relied on the British.
So they were only developing Hyderabad, nothing to do with.
I would say even Hyderabad was not developed until the last Nizam's time. It is only under the last one after 1911 when they after the flood, 1900 flood, they then realized that city has to be flood proofed. Then they start this High Court, Usmania University, Usmania Hospital, Kachiguda Station, Nampalli Station, Airport, Hyderabad Deccan Radio, Mozam Jahi Market.
Even the racing club.
Racing club was a little older. But basically, a lot of the assembly was built in 1904 under the sixth one. Like a lot of stuff that we see today were all built under the last Nizam only. So until then, city was a very slow city.
నేను ఒక ఇన్స్టాగ్రామ్లో ఒక పోస్ట్ చూసాను ఆన్ యువర్ ప్రొఫైల్ వేర్ ఇన్ ఐ థింక్ 1937లో లైఫ్ మ్యాగజైన్ వాళ్ళు
36 or Usmana, the last one comes on the cover.
చీప్
So,
Why?
So not cheap.
ఏంటి చీప్ కొద్దిగా
So
context?
Usman Ali Khan, the last Nizam.
No, I'll just give him context. So basically, Life magazine lo, the world's richest man, Usman Ali Khan, is
ఉన్నారు
cheap
కదా
and
ఇక్కడ.
No, it says it's the world's richest man throws a cheap party.
Yeah, why?
So basically, Usman Ali Khan was the world's richest man. I think he was richer than even Henry Ford at that point of time. So Usman Ali Khan was known to be. See, I would say he was not a miser. I would not say he was a miser, but I think people were not expecting the world's richest man to behave in the way he did, and I think it's okay because I think he was somebody who watched his father, the sixth one, waste a lot of money. Mehboob Ali Pasha bought one diamond worth 24 lakh rupees, which he didn't like. And then
Which he didn't like.
That's called the Jacob diamond, the 186 carat diamond.
Oh, damn.
Which is with the RBI today. Lot of things like that. So I think he saw his father waste money, and then he realized that like he doesn't want to be that maybe. So we don't actually know what Usman Ali Khan was thinking.
Right.
But it looks from his actions like he didn't want to waste money. So he would apparently collect gold coins. He would not give you like some weird habits. That's why a lot of some people have written after meeting him that he's wearing kapade mein holes, he's wearing old clothes and things like that. Maybe he was just not
Flamboyant.
maybe his father was flamboyant.
Yeah.
So he probably developed that opposite personality.
opposite
So
personality.
conjuice because in that magazine, Life magazine, I think they were more amused that the world's richest man was not acting rich. So they were like expecting him to have fancy cars, but he was still using old cars.
But it's still a Rolls Royce.
So back then that was normal. No, there were more updated versions which he was not using.
Right.
I think they expected like gold and probably things,
Right.
but he was not really splurging. So stuff like that. So cheap is a little too much, but I think people, if you're the richest man, you will expect people expect you to behave that way.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Interesting.
So all this history, like the interest for history? Did you develop this during your school?
So
or it
no.
happened later?
So when I was working for the Hindu in 2016,
Oh, you worked with the Hindu?
yeah, for 3.5 years. So Usman, the last Nizam's 50th death anniversary was on 2017, February 24th. So that is why I realized. So I thought, okay, we'll write something because no one seems to have been writing about that. So I wrote an article and I realized it got a very lot of reaction. So then I realized people want to read. Then I realized after that even I don't know anything. I am from Secunderabad. I live 5 minutes away from the oldest church in Secunderabad, St. John's Church, 1813. So then I was like, okay, I should koncham research cheyali ani. Then I started doing research after that. That's how I got into that. So Hyderabad has a very rich history. Like I don't think to look at Delhi, like we are actually as good as any other city. So
ఇప్పుడు again going back to the history part, so Nizams, when they were ruling, they had treaties with British, like they had diplomatic
it's
relations.
called the Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance.
Right. So I don't know how much of this is true, but నేను ఎక్కడో చదివానో విన్నానో that after India got independence, the Nizam wanted to be a part of Pakistan.
No. So okay, let me finish this. Okay, so basically 1940, before independence itself,
Right.
I think everybody knew that the British are going to leave. All the
1940s.
40, around 45 itself. So it's like this. All the princely states, there were some 560 princely states in India, Pakistan. Many of them were relying on the British. See, what the British administered directly was called the presidency, like Madras, Bombay, and
Right.
what you have, and then you have states like Hyderabad which are running semi-independently, right, with the British. Kashmir
and
right? There were 560 like that, small and big. So some were too small, some were very big. Hyderabad was second largest, right? So you're talking about the world's richest man. You're talking about states like Jammu Kashmir, which are very big. So Mysore, Jammu Kashmir, Hyderabad, Junagadh was the one that acceded to Pakistan in Gujarat. But other states wanted to stay independent. So it's not just Hyderabad. See, Muhammad Ali Jinnah comes to Hyderabad and his meeting with the Nizam does not go well. And that is the end of the Pakistan thing. So Pakistan had no moral right, first of all, to do anything because Pakistan was created on the basis of Muhammad Ali Jinnah's two-nation theory. Right, he said Muslim majority areas for Muslims, Hindu majority. So what business does he have here? Hyderabad had 85% Hindus. Just because he had a Muslim ruler doesn't mean that. So logic చూస్తున్నారా? On your logic only, you took Pakistan and you went off.
But
right?
he wanted.
No, the Nizam didn't want to.
No, not Nizam.
Jinnah definitely. Jinnah was basically trying to put ungli and see how much he can annoy India. That's all. That's basically what he was doing. People don't understand. Jinnah also was actually a very quote-unquote liberal Muslim. I think he used to drink alcohol. He was barely a religious person. Pakistan today has whitewashed his entire background. His first wife is he was a Parsi lady who was buried in Bombay.
Yes.
Right. So anyway, coming back to point, from 44, 45 itself, people were like
expecting
what something is going to happen. So Nizam basically, I mean, if you're the world's richest man with the second biggest state, you also would have maybe thought, okay, I'll also try to see like why can't I stay independent? His advisors were bad. Some advisors told him, just negotiate with the government of India, finish it jaldi, because they told him that logically, practically, and avadu, like you can't stay independent in surrounded by India, right? The MIM was active back then. The MIM was the old MIM, I would say, the culprit. They kept on pushing this idea that we can stay independent. Like not MIM per se, but one of the leaders of the MIM.
MIM ఉండేనా అప్పుడు?
This started in 1927 itself. It started as a social organization in 1927. It becomes political in 1930s.
The same families?
No, not same families, no. That was completely different. So,
Okay.
So MIM was revived after 50s again.
Okay.
So this is I'm talking about like a very different MIM.
Okay.
So these guys were like the ones who were pushing for India to be like, so Hyderabad to be independent. So Nizam basically, there were 2-3 prime ministers who were fired immediately before 1948 because they were pro-India in the sense they told them just unnecessary enduku tamasha, just
will be a part of this.
In fact, one of them had come from Delhi with the whole agreement saying that just please khatam kar do, because already they saw what happened in Kashmir. Where also Hari Singh did not join India. He wanted to be independent. And then Pakistan sent tribals and then he had to sign the agreement. Then they saw what is happening. Mysore also had a similar situation. So then here, basically, these guys tried to see how much long they can continue with all this tamasha. A lot of Muslims from Hyderabad also were very anti this whole of this idea of being against India. In fact, people don't know this.
Oh, they were anti against being a part of India.
No, anti against the Nizam. They were actually not happy with what the Nizam also was doing.
Okay, they wanted to merge.
Yeah, the last Nizam, last commander actually offered the Nizam to take down that Qasim Rizvi from the MIM. He tells him, I can put him down for you, and if you want me to control him. But Nizam does not. Somebody else tells the Nizam not to let it happen. So you can blame the Nizam also here. But I think he was just trying to play here, see whatever will happen. Yeah, so if you, like, there's one man, there's some government employees, Muslims, who write to the Nizam saying, what the hell are you doing? Like why are you allowing, like, the Qasim Razakars and MIM to, they actually wrote to the Nizam saying, let's just stop this and just join India. Unnecessarily, you're, like, causing tamasha. So a lot of things were there. A lot of Muslims who were pro-India were targeted by other Muslims also. So then you had some Jagirdars joined the Razakars also. Right, so it's very complicated. It is who was doing what, but it was a bad decision. Like there's no two ways about it. Like whatever. See, the state of Hyderabad was not a separate country. It was an independent princely state which had some features of a country, like separate coin, separate postal, but they were still under British India. So the whole basis of the argument why the Nizam some states tried to be independent is that our agreement was with the British. So now that they are gone, we are independent. But technically they are also right. But the point here is that the British didn't leave Kada. They gave power to the Indian new government and then they left. So then they should have negotiated with which they should have just. I think giving them the option of negotiation was a bad idea. They should have just said nothing doing. Eventually hook or crook, right? So in retrospect, it was a very bad decision. I mean, had the Nizam just joined India, it would have been so much more peaceful. 1.5 year of tamasha would not have happened. There would have so much violence would not have taken. Like the eventual losers were the Muslims only. So, no, if you notice in this whole thing,
more than Muslim, I feel the Nizam himself, because I think a lot of his wealth also went.
No. Nizams retained all their wealth. The government of India let him have his private estates and his money. They only lost the ownership of the state.
Oh no, but they say that Nizam...
that is the grandson of the last Nizam who lost all the money.
Oh, okay.
The last Nizam, so they told him that you have to abolish Jagirdari. You cannot have Jagirdari anymore. So they abolished. And they told him you have to give up ownership of the state. So in return, the government of India, not just him, all the rulers of India were given a certain amount of income. Hyderabad was given 5 lakh rupees a year for abolishing the Jagirdari. Ante Fukatlo, they were giving him 5 lakh rupees a year for maintenance. So Nizam did not lose anything. See, all of this, I'm not saying Nizams are evil, but nobody, even except the people who hate the Nizams, they hate them fully. But logical people, even if they talk, nobody blames the Nizams saying that they made a bad decision. They'll blame everybody else. But I think we should also put some blame on the Nizam for making bad choices. He could have easily just stopped it. I think he was basically a shrewd man trying to see what will benefit him maximum. Dantlo, he made a bad, like the last set of council ministers actually had a lot of Hindus also in the minister, like as ministers. Right. So that Nizam always maintained saying he was very diplomatic. He never, in fact, I didn't know this for a long time that the state of Hyderabad actually banned cow slaughter because of Hindus. So I thought it was a new thing, but apparently even back then also they had that thing. Okay, we should not let cow slaughter be. They actually banned cow slaughter.
I think I think the Nizams are actually encouraged. I mean,
they were fine in that sense.
No, I'm saying Hindu practices ni koncham respect chesi.
Yeah. So they were actually quite open to all that. Like they had no issues with Hindus. Like they had no issues with anybody.
Right.
I won't say they're bad people at all. They were actually quite okay. Like they were not despotic or evil. They were just happened to be there. That's all. But I think they should have probably considered the consequence. The only thing I can tell you here is that the prime ministers who had sense are all educated people. So they knew diplomatically what was going to happen. So maybe had the Nizams...
Could have been avoided.
I think it has something to do also with not being formally educated or experts in something. They had to always rely on somebody else outside for something. So it could be anything. So they made a mistake. State paid for it. That's all. So that is the whole story. It's not that they wanted. Pakistan thing is not true. Like, it's impossible. It makes absolutely no sense that they could have joined Pakistan. I think he also knew that. Pakistan is not like, where is Pakistan? Where is Hyderabad?
Okay, but Jinnah had that interest.
Jinnah wanted to come and try to see that if he can get support or do something, money. So I think the last Prime Minister's nephew was in London, and these guys also filed one case in the UN saying that India attacked Hyderabad or whatever. There was some money in the account of the Hyderabad with this Moin Nawaz Jung. He transferred that to Pakistan High Commissioner account. That got frozen by the government of the bank in UK, and the case recently got solved, and India got the money back. Recently.
How recent? Like
Literally one and a half, 2 years ago.
okay.
So initially we got the money back. I mean, I think the Nizams family got some of it back, or the government of India, I'm not sure.
And how did the last grandson of Nizam lose all the wealth?
So Mukarram Jah was somebody who loved automobiles, he loved ranches, he never lived here for long. So I think it's possible that his mother was a Turkish princess, no? The last Nizam's 2 sons were married to 2 Turkish princesses. So I think Mukarram Jah was the son of Azam Jah, the elder son of the last Nizam. So I think Princess Durushevar, she, I think, made sure that her sons were educated abroad. They never lived here for long. It's possible that because they didn't grow up here. So that's why they probably never felt home here or whatever. Maybe, but he didn't live here. So Mukarram Jah was someone who lived abroad. He spent money, built ranches or automobiles, and for that, whatever was, he kept selling. Right. Eventually lost most of it. It is his ex-wife, Princess Esra, who actually helped him save all the properties here, like Chowmahalla, Falaknuma. She was the one who helped him restore all that. Otherwise, maybe that also would have been gone. But at least they did a fairly good job. It is good now.
Kinkoti Palace.
Kinkoti is gone. So
Kinkoti is gone.
That's what I'm saying, right? Eramanzil is not there. It was a different family.
Okay.
Kinkoti could have been saved. Unfortunately, they didn't get. That's what I'm saying. They didn't take care of it. Like, some of the Kinkoti was sold long back. Like, part of it was chopped up and sold off. Some of it government took off. Some of it sold already. Basically, 2-3 people had, from what I've been told, is that 2-3 people had general power of attorney for Mukarram Jah. So anytime, I'm not sure what happened or how it happened, but apparently it was sold either on his behalf or it was sold without him knowing. But these things were sold eventually.
Any other places that could have been, saved in this way?
Just so many other. Iramandir is today there. It's not broken. This is the government of Telangana only. There's so many buildings, yeah. Like, what comes to mind?
But చాలా I mean, historical places ni అంతగా కూడా preserve చేయలేదు. For example, Pyre tombs is...
No, they're restoring it now. So the mainstream places are always there. It's
okay, now they're doing it, but they didn't do it for a very long time.
They didn't. So conservation in India is generally a slow thing.
కానీ మరి ఇంత I didn't see అంటే మరి.
So Qutub Shahi tombs, for example, they did a fantastic job.
Right.
Same people are restoring the Pyre tombs also. That's what. Some like Golkonda will always be there. Qutub Shahi tombs will be. Charminar will be. There are places where, see, British Residency, which is in Koti Women's College, the recent guy they had restored it, so it's running perfectly. It's great, it's beautiful. See, like the state museums are there. Those should be preserved better. Like, a lot of important things are there. I think India or Hyderabad has one of the highest number of cannons just lying around near the fort on the road and all that. Foreign countries, they one cannon ante oka pedda, they'll worship it as if it is some great thing. Apna pura rasta pe aisa yama rehta.
ఎక్కడున్నాయి ఇవన్నీ?
All around Golconda fort. Some people can't take cannons. No, it's impossible to melt it.
Wait.
Just because people can't steal, it's there.
Oh, right.
People have stolen cannonballs also in India.
Nice.
Speaking of Golconda, so as a child, I heard a lot of rumors.
No tunnel. Tunnel is not there.
No, that's disappointing. Man.
ఏంటి రూమర్
Tunnel. Golconda and Charminar. లేదు. It's Hyderabad is a very rocky area. You can't drill tunnels so easily. That's why the metro is also overcrowded.
అవును, మెట్రో అందుకనే ఎలివేటెడ్ చేస్తారు.
Sorry, boss.
Sad. Okay.
Yeah, what else do you want to
And
ask?
so ఇప్పుడు ఇందాక you were saying that కృష్ణా బెల్ట్ దగ్గర నుంచి we used to source a lot of diamonds కదా, సో pearls కూడా అలానే వచ్చాయి.
No. Pearls were actually coming here in the 1800s from Basra in Iraq. So Basra was very well known for pearls. So those guys would send the stuff here because only the people here, the nobility, had the money to buy it. That's how the city becomes a pearl market. And apparently a lot of the workers who could make holes in the pearls were in Hyderabad.
Oh.
So ఇప్పుడు obviously we have cultured pearls. But apparently in the 1800s, like fancy precious pearls would come here from Basra.
Right.
That's what.
Any interesting facts about food?
For some reason, food is a big black hole here in Hyderabad, but only Irani cafe food is there. So Irani cafes are more recorded. So I think
But why do you say it's a black hole?
we don't have much information on
Info.
food.
There's a gap.
So, Golkonda history also, I think, can say samosas were there, but there's not much information on Golkonda about food. I don't know why.
But we can say that
A lot of what we eat, like biryani,
halim.
biryani, halim. So halim is basically a very old. It's like a very old Arab dish. It is made for people while traveling, especially and all that. But the halim that we eat is made. So apparently, halim. There are 2-3 stories here. One is that it is an Arab thing. But in Hyderabad, I remember the Barkas soldiers, right? They were Yemeni, right? So
Yes.
apparently, the head of the Yemeni family would. It's something that they used to make. Apparently, Barkas they still make it in the morning every day. But it was not a big delicacy by initially. In fact. Madina Hotel was the first one to sell halim on Ramzan occasionally. But for a long time, halim was not really a big deal. It was like very normal. Once in a while, something people it was always there, but it was never a big deal. It was like a very normal. So our halim in Hyderabad was made by the Iranis, not like it was popularized by the Iranis a little bit. Pista House in the 1990s is what popularized halim by marketing it, but I think the halim that was sold originally in Hyderabad by the Irani cafes are very different from what is available now. I don't think it was that rich. It was more like it was rich, but it was. I don't think it was in the same form that we make today. Maybe they were adding a little less ghee probably at that point of time.
Interesting.
So that biryani is our version of the biryani is a little different, but it is primarily a Mughal thing only. Biryani is an Indian dish. There are all forms of biryani are biryani. I think my favorite after Hyderabad is actually Tamil Nadu. Dindivul. It's actually brilliant biryani, like absolutely brilliant biryani.
చాలా తినే
I would. So
But it's very, very different from the
so
Hyderabad,
biryani can be anywhere, no? Like who set the rules for biryani, man?
No, I'm not talking
No,
about
I'm just saying, like, actually, it's a very interesting thing because I would say biryani is the most democratized dish today. Because you have biryani, and now if we want it, we also will have biryani. If someone's wedding, also will have biryani. Someone's small function also will have biryani. Anything, biryani is now available for 100 rupees also and for 1,000 rupees also. Any occasion, big or small, that's how it has become. It's not like some fancy only elite people thing, right? Even though it is not meant to be. So, and our form of biryani is an Indian thing. It's not like people keep saying. First of all, people in Persia or Iran people don't have biryani. They have pulao. They have something called berry pulao. In Uzbekistan also, you have pilav only. So, our version is, I think, an offshoot of that pulao thing. But again, pulao or pilaf in, for example, Uzbekistan or Azerbaijan is very close to the way we make biryani. They add some berries and all that, but the preparation is similar. So I think the system of making biryani probably is from somewhere from Central Asia, but the masalas and all what we add is our own thing. So I won't say that it's a foreign thing. It's an Indian thing. It's like how food travels, like how the concept of like how samosa also now aloo samosa is an Indian thing, right? So I mean, of course, it came from Central Asia, but
right.
so today is Indian thing. So that's what.
But Old City Girl, a lot of people they bake a lot of breads.
It's a part again. Making bread is very commonly again found in other parts of the world. So I'm pretty sure when people traveled, especially abroad. See, if you go to an Afghan. Naan, Shirmal are again, I think one of the oldest naan shops here is Munshi Naan. The owner went to Delhi and found how to make naan and brought it back here. So,
ఎక్కడ ఉంది
Old City near.
Okay.
Just type Munshi Naan on Google, you'll find it. One tiny shop, some 1857.
Oh,
or 51.
wow.
Yeah, it's there from that time.
Nice. Nice. Inka, ఏమైనా questions?
Yes, if you have any
So
ending
take us
questions.
through your research process. Like you said, 2017 mein you
Yeah, I mean,
started
there's no
doing
process per se. All you have to do is find old books. You can go to the
Acha, you
State
read
Central
all-
Library. Yeah, you have to read. You can go to Central
it.
Library.
Neither Google.
Yeah, you have to go to you have to go to. You can actually go to archive.org. They have most of the books on PDF. Archive.org. You can go to State Central Library, Tarnaka State Research Archive. Basically, or just find old books. If you have any old family friend, if you have any old people that you know, ask them. They'll have old books, old magazines, old newspapers. That's all. It's just a matter of how much time you put into reading,
Right.
or talk to old people.
There's also one ఒక మొత్తం బిల్డింగ్ ఉంది తార్నక దగ్గర స్టేట్ ఆర్కైవ్స్.
That's what I'm saying. It's a state research center. They have a lot of old They have a lot of magazines. They have books. You can go read there.
So how did research నుంచి ఈ ట్రాన్సిషన్ అయింది, లైక్
I
ఆర్గనైజింగ్?
still do the same thing, only the walks. Basically, somebody asked me once 2017 if I'll do a food walk for them. I said okay. So then I realized that a lot of people don't know anything. So I can write how much ever I can write, but practically learning is still also important.
True.
So I just thought, okay, I'll do once bulk. Yes, that's all. Started small. So now I have a friend. I have others also who do walks with me. So I have a small team. So mostly I do, but once in a while they also do.
నైస్.
ఇది చాలా మంది ఐ మీన్ ద స్టిల్ చాలా కోర్ట్ కేసెస్ అవుతున్నాయి ఇప్పుడు కూడా నిజాం ల్యాండ్.
అదే అవుతూనే ఉంటాయి. నా సీ ద థింగ్
అదేంటి ఇష్యూ ఏంటి అసలు?
litigation అంతే. Who it belongs to. Maybe the land belonged to you, but maybe you didn't have papers. Somebody would have come and claimed it. Or if you had papers, somebody would still come and stay
No,
there.
I'm talking about Nizam's lands.
Some lands, their family has their direct palaces and all, but lands, it's just there, man. They have a lot of private estates and all that, right? So now some of it isn't. Like some of maybe it would have been sold illegally. Maybe someone would have sold without telling them. Could be anything. Like how in the King Koti Palace was sold by the family to one firm. Two ex-employees of that firm illegally sold it to a third person. So all of them are now fighting a court battle.
It's still outside.
And apparently that third firm borrowed money from some other builder. There's a fourth builder also involved. And that fellow sent some 50-100 gundas to take it over 2 years ago. So it's a spectacular story of how the grandson lost all his property. So that.
నైస్.
Right.
So that.
What fascinates you? And when you look, because Makana, you know a lot about Hyderabad history, right? So in the last couple of years in your research, what is the most fascinating thing that you came across?
Fascinating thing.
Or at least shocking.
There's no shocking thing. Fascinating, I would say, is how Hyderabad was this big global capital in the 1600s. Maybe if the Mughals would not have destroyed Hyderabad, it would have continued to be.
Right?
Or Aurangzeb. Maybe had he not destroyed the city, our city would have been on the lines of Istanbul and Turkey. Thanks to the Mughal city got screwed. The Mughals basically destroyed all our cities. So that's I find Golconda more interesting than the Nizams.
So Golkonda was destroyed by the Mughals.
So whatever you see in the fort are basically only ruins, right?
Right.
We don't know how the city used to look because the Mughals destroyed everything in the city. Atla. So yeah.
But again, how did we get back control from them? Like
We didn't. The Nizams were appointed by the Mughals.
as governors.
Yeah, and then the Mughals eventually disappeared on their own when the after 1857, after the first war of independence, the British ended the Mughals fully, officially, and they allowed the governors like the Nizams to stay for as long as they were okay with them. Ante, that's it. The Mughals were gone. Nizams, like the Nizams, other princely states like also continued to be with them. And basically, the Mughals were replaced by the British. That's all.
Okay.
Atla. So yeah, I hope you had enough dose of history.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
More
hope
than
so.
enough.
Yeah, I hope it was useful. So yeah, if you have doubts, most ask. Otherwise, if anybody else ever has doubt, you're all most welcome to
come for the walk.
check me. Yeah, please come.
Walk.
Since you've paid 3 times, definitely come.
Next 3 times free manake.
Yeah, come 3 times, no problem.
We'll do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Yunus.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Most welcome.
Yes.